other commissioners as they join in. So once again, good morning to you all. It's great to see you. Call to order this November meeting, 2025 meeting of the Maryland Lynching Truth and Reconciliation Commission. As always, honored to help lead this journey, which is coming to an end. Which, believe it or not, we've been at this for over 6 years, and the light is at the end of the tunnel, but I'm glad that we made it. So very quickly acknowledging the commissioners that are on the call right now. So Commissioner Millen, good morning. Vice Chair Chavis, good morning. Commissioner Hughes, good morning. Commissioner Barnes, good morning. Commissioner Stevenson, good morning. Commissioner Davis, good morning. Commissioner Armenti, good morning. Commissioner Coles, good morning. Commissioner Creary, good morning. Commissioner Dupree Wilson, good morning. Also appreciation and good morning to Kristen, to Sophie, to I'm missing people, to Emily. Commissioner Parker just joined, so good morning to you. Thank you all again for being here. So moving along with our agenda, we do have the approval of the October business meeting minutes. I don't think those have been created or have been curated just yet. So what we'll go ahead and do is we'll just table that to our next meeting. So moving right along with the chair's comments and the soul check. I said what I needed to say. It's November. The final report is due in approximately like 3 weeks. So that just shows you how down to the wire we are with the work that we've been doing for the past several years. We'll pretty much be spending this entire meeting to discuss the revisions to that final report. I'm going to go ahead and share the preface that Vice Chair Chavis primarily and I have put together to, again, set the tone for what people will experience with the final report. There will be obviously other details that will be shared with the full commission, and we welcome your thoughts on all of that. But, despite everything that's going on, I'm grateful that, again, we have made it to this very critical juncture of the commission's existence. We are on the precipice of delivering the ultimate deliverable, which is this final report, which, as we all know, has a lot to say. And has been so, I think, beautifully crafted, certainly by 3PV, by all of us who have given our insight. And I'm excited. I look forward to that product. As the preface will state, this is arguably the most important thing that I've done in my life, and will be the most important thing that I've done in my life. That's saying a lot. But I hope you all truly take pride in what we have done. It is historic. Every move that we made was historic. Whether we thought it was a good move, bad move, healthy move, unhealthy move, everything was history that we made. So truly be proud of that. Please make this a part of your story moving forward. And I look forward to everything that will manifest in time because of what we are declaring with this report. So with that, I want to make space for other commissioners to share their thoughts. Whatever's on their mind, their souls at this moment, please feel free to share. All right, I'm going to presume that means everybody's good, relatively speaking. All right, I'll take it. All hearts and minds are one. Cool. Let's do it. All right. Well, thank you all. So we'll move on to public comments. As always, we are grateful to the public for being with us as a part of this journey. So at this time, any members of the public who would like to introduce themselves, you are welcome to do so in the chat. Give your name, your affiliation, and again, please accept our gratitude for being with us and holding us accountable so that we did what we were supposed to do. And we did it. All right. Moving along to committee reports. So if any of the committee chairs have anything specific to share, please do so at this time. Certainly for the Reconciliation Committee, this is the time to shine. So we will be talking about the final report. So if there's nothing to say outside of that, then fine. We'll move on to that. So anything updates from committee chairs? Okay. All right. Let's move right along. So We are here to talk about the revisions to the final report. And so before I turn it over to Commissioner Creary, Commissioner Coles in particular, I will share with you all the preface, as I mentioned, that Vice Chair Chavis initially crafted. I added a few thoughts, and we also had some additional help from Claude. I'll leave it at that. And so, who is Claude, you may ask? I'll let Sophie tell you. But what I'll do at this time is I will read aloud the preface, and this will go before, obviously, the meat and potatoes of the final report. The final report of the Maryland Lynching Truth and Reconciliation Commission, MLTRC, represents the culmination of a historic, extraordinary, and sacred labor, the first state-sponsored effort in the United States to investigate, document, and reckon with the history of racial terror lynching within its own borders. From the moment the commission was established in 2019, we have understood that this work was not ours alone. We stand on the shoulders of those who came before us: community historians, descendants, educators, faith leaders, activists, and countless unsung truth tellers who refuse to let silence be the final word. Their courage, persistence, and love for justice guided every step of this journey. It is to them, the 38 known victims of racial terror lynching in Maryland, and those victims of racial terrorism whose names are lost to time, for now, that we dedicate this work. This report bears witness to a chapter of Maryland's history too long denied: the era between 1854 and 1933, when Black Marylanders, descendants of Africans who suffered unimaginable horrors as a part of the transatlantic slave trade, Ma'afa, were terrorized, brutalized, and murdered by white mobs, often with at best the negligence and at worst the complicity of local and state institutions. No perpetrators were ever held accountable, and these crimes against humanity were not isolated acts of violence. They were part of a system designed to enforce an unfounded racial hierarchy, white power, through fear. The work of the MLTRC has been scholarly, community-rooted, and spiritual. Over more than 6 years, the commission held 14 public hearings in counties across Maryland, concluding with a final statewide institutional and reconciliation hearing. We listened to descendants, historians, community leaders, policymakers, and advocates. We examined thousands of pages of archival records and historical evidence. We stood in the very places where violence once occurred and where communities gathered in remembrance. In every hearing, in every testimony, we heard echoes of both trauma and resilience. The report is divided into 2 parts. Part 1 documents the history and geography of racial terror lynching in Maryland. Through meticulous historical research and community testimony, it chronicles the stories of 38 documented victims. Names once buried beneath silence and shame are now acknowledged for how they lived, and not simply the sadism surrounding their undeserved deaths. Some may ask, these men were accused of committing heinous crimes. Why should we honor them? The answer lies in the foundational principles of justice itself: due process and the presumption of innocence until proven guilty. None of these victims received a trial. None faced a jury of their peers. None had the opportunity to present evidence in their defense. Moreover, pioneering journalist and anti-lynching activist Ida B. Wells documented through meticulous research that many accusations of rape, the charge most frequently used to justify lynching, were spurious. Her investigations revealed that some accusations involved consensual relationships between Black men and white women, relationships that violated social taboo but not law. Other accusations were fabricated entirely to provide cover for economic competition, labor disputes, or simply the desire to terrorize Black communities into submission. We honor these victims not by endorsing alleged crimes, but by affirming that every person, regardless of accusation, deserves due process, a fair trial, and protection from mob violence. To honor them is to honor the rule of law itself. Part 2 offers 87 recommendations for repair and reconciliation. These recommendations, rooted in law, history, and moral responsibility, address not only the legacy of racial terror lynching, but the enduring harms of racial inequities and inequalities in criminal justice, education, health, land ownership, financial and economic sustainability, and media representation. Critically, they call for accountability, acknowledgement of state and institutional complicity in racial terror, investigation of these unsolved murders, and systemic reforms to prevent future injustices. We recognize that some may question why Maryland should undertake this work now, more than 90 years after the last documented lynching. The answer is not found in the calendar, but in the present. Moreover, there is no statute of limitations on murder. This work represents an opportunity to investigate and address 38 open murder cases, crimes against humanity for which no one was ever held accountable. The systems and structures that enabled racial terror lynching, disparities in law enforcement, economic exclusion, educational inequity, health injustice, did not disappear in 1933. They transformed. Today's racial wealth gap, disproportionate incarceration rates, maternal mortality disparities, and land loss among Black families are direct descendants of the policies that racial terror lynching was designed to enforce. Delay has not diminished this harm. It has compounded it with interest. Our recommendations extend beyond the 30 descendants of the 38 known lynching victims because lynching was never solely about the individuals killed. It was a system of terror designed to subjugate an entire community and to enforce a racial hierarchy that harmed and continues to harm all Black Marylanders. Every Black person who modified their behavior out of fear, who lost property to white mobs, who was denied economic opportunity, who fled Maryland to protect their family, was a victim of this system. To limit repair to direct descendants would be to fundamentally misunderstand the nature and scope of racial terrorism. Furthermore, accountability for these crimes cannot be limited to individual acts of violence. It must address the institutional structures and state actors who enabled, encouraged, or failed to prevent these murders. This work asks for nothing of individual Marylanders beyond what we owe one another as members of a shared community: acknowledgement of truth and participation in repair. These recommendations do not assign personal guilt for historical acts. They recognize that we all have inherited institutions, systems, and disparities shaped by Maryland's history of racial terror. However, inheritance brings responsibility. While individuals living today did not commit these murders, the institutions we sustain, law enforcement agencies, courts, local governments, failed to prevent them, investigate them, or hold perpetrators accountable. True accountability requires these institutions to acknowledge their role and implement reforms that prevent such failures from reoccurring. Just as we benefit from the roads, schools, and infrastructure built by previous generations, we also inherit the responsibility to repair the harms they left unaddressed. This is not about punishment. This is about honest accounting and forward investment in a Maryland that works better for everyone. Finally, we recognize Maryland faces fiscal challenges, yet we cannot afford to not address these issues. The cost of inaction in lost human potential, in economic inefficiency, in social instability, in the burden of mass incarceration, in public health expenditures treating the symptoms of inequality far exceeds the investment required for meaningful repair. Many of our recommendations cost nothing. They require only political will and commitment to justice. Others represent investments that will generate returns in the form of stronger communities, better health outcomes, improved educational achievement, and reduced involvement in the criminal justice system. The question is not whether Maryland can afford to act, but whether we can afford to continue bearing the mounting costs of unaddressed historical harm. Together, these sections form a call to action to acknowledge, appreciate, and respect the truth, to understand and reckon with the past, to hold institutions accountable for their failures, and to repair what remains broken. As commissioners, we were consistently reminded during the journey of this as commissioners were consistently reminded during the journey of this meaningful work, racial terrorism has not gone away. Rather, it evolved. By extension, racism continues to evolve, and as the current moment demonstrates, it has devastating impact on all people, not just those most oppressed. Therefore, racism is everyone's problem. The fires of resentment, mistrust, and division that burn in our communities today were lit by torches of racial terror more than a century ago. We cannot extinguish them by ignoring how they started. Although the formal work of the commission has reached its end, the work of truth-telling and justice must continue. Reconciliation cannot be a single act, but an ongoing process of courage, empathy, restoration, and love. We hope that this report will serve as a foundation for Marylanders and for the people of this country, now more than ever, to continue this work in homes, classrooms, courthouses, pews, and communities for generations to come. If nothing else, we encourage readers of this report to own these stories for all that they can teach about the past, for how they can contextualize the present, and for how they offer wisdom to help dictate a more desirable future. Every person has a role they can play, and so we uplift the ability and opportunity to craft a narrative worth living, telling, and preserving. We present this report, representative of some of the most important work we may ever do in our lives, with reverence and gratitude to the victims of racial terrorism, both known and unknown, to the descendants who have carried memory through generations with dignity, to the descendants of perpetrators and spectators who have chosen to stand on the side of humanity, and to the communities across Maryland who continue to reclaim their history in pursuit of healing and virtue. We offer these recommendations not as a burden, but as an opportunity to build a Maryland that honors its full history, holds its institutions accountable for past failures and future commitments, repairs longstanding harms, and creates conditions for all people to thrive. The choice before us is not whether to pay for the past, but whether to invest in a future worthy of our highest values. May truth remain our guide, justice our practice, and reconciliation our legacy. And there you go. That's the preface. Any thoughts?
Bravo.
That was a lot. Wow.
It was, but I had no conflicting thoughts.
Awesome. So again, thank you, Vice Chair Chavis, for the beautiful foundation. I sprinkled in a little stuff in Claude. Much love. No, you know. So yes, any thoughts? I appreciate the feedback. Again, thank you all. Yeah, we hope that sets the appropriate tone for everything else that people will experience with the final report. And with that, I will turn it over to Commissioner Creary and Commissioner Coles to just, again, walk us through some of the major revisions that happened between the last meeting and today.
Okay, well, thank you. And thank you to you and Commissioner Chavis for that incredibly powerful preface. I mean, there are a couple of very minor things. I will just submit them, and we can sort of incorporate that if we so decide. But yeah, we had reconciliation committee meeting, and everything leading up to that was going back through particularly part 2 with the recommendations. And here, before I begin and turn things over to Commissioner Coles, I have to sing her praises. I mean, as I said to her, I mean, basically, the work that she has done, is grounds for her canonization as far as I'm concerned. I don't know if you have all had a chance to look at the revised part 2 with the recommendations, but at the end of part 2, there is a table that lays out specific the recommendations. That also includes metrics for success and cost estimates. And Commissioner Coles did that entirely by herself, and she needs to be lauded for the work that she put into that. We also had some help from Claude, the AI at the Attorney General's office. One of the things that Sophie and company were able to do were to take a lot of the recommendations and run them through Claude. And we were able to see, duplications and instances where some of the things that we were recommending had already been legislated or, had to a certain degree. And so, yeah, Commissioner Coles really led the charge and did the heavy lifting in terms of addressing a lot of those issues. So I will turn things over to her to walk you through what she did and where we are currently.
Thank you. Thanks, Nick, for those kind words. All right. Again, I apologize for the background noise. I have a 2-year-old here, and y'all will probably hear him shortly. All right. So the main things, I'm just going to order of beginning to end, the main things that we did was one, Sophie recommended, and this hasn't happened yet. I'm hoping we'll see a draft of it soon. But Sophie had recommended that we put kind of the legal history into a timeline format. And so I'm going to see if 3PB was able to do that. But that's kind of a change that you'll see at the beginning of the legal background section. Nick drafted a piece on kind of comparative reparation efforts, looking at both international models and domestic models. So we made that the third prong of the legal analysis, with the first prong being that establishing that constitutional violations occurred. Second prong is that the recommendations that we're making are permissible under the law. And the third prong is that these recommendations are consistent with reparation precedents. The next big change is we got rid of a lot of duplication. There were recommendations that would kind of overlap between maybe material and education and community health, and would show up in different places. And because we wanted to try to come up with some type of cost estimate for the proposal, it was important to not repeat things in a lot of different places. So to the best of my ability, I streamlined those. And I think we got it to down to 84 recommendations from what was previously like 140 or so. And then the last big change is the table that is at the end, where I put in all of the recommendations on the table, and we numbered them so that each recommendation category would be a letter on the outline, and each recommendation within that category would be a number. So that way recommendations could be easily identified as, say, B5. And because we said B, we're talking about material reparations, and 5, you could easily look and see what that fifth recommendation was. And then for each of the recommendations, I tried to identify what could be a success metric. I tried to estimate a cost, and then I tried to define who would it apply to, whether it would apply to the general public, or if it would apply specifically to the category of descendants of racial terror lynching victims, or the descendants of community members where the lynchings occurred. And I also noted, and this was a great suggestion by Stephanie Franklin, one of the not a commissioner, but one of the attorneys who worked really closely with the reconciliation subcommittee. She just kind of recommended not leaving room for experts and for the people that are going to be implementing these recommendations, and even the legislature, to do a more in-depth analysis in setting up those success metrics and those cost estimates. So we added a paragraph preceding the table that explains that what the information that we provided on the table is really just a starting point for conversations, and that it shouldn't be taken as ironclad. And when I added up all of the costs, with this being a very rough, loose estimate, the cost came up to around 670 million, which incidentally happens to be almost exactly 1% of Maryland's overall budget, which is 670 billion. So interesting that we would come in right at a 1% mark, which I think can be a helpful talking point for us as we're talking about what this will cost Maryland. It will cost about 1% of its budget. And that would be more in the first year and less in subsequent years as some of these things are initially set up. So that's the general changes from the last time we discussed the second half of the report.
Okay, questions, comments, criticisms? Yes, Commissioner Barnes.
So will we get a chance to look at these again? In the current form?
Yeah, I suppose we can.
I think 3PB is combining everything. And I think they expect us to all have one last chance to review it once it's combined. And I think the plan is for it to go to the printer in about a week. So hopefully, there won't be time to do big edits, but I sent actually, Commissioner Barnes, I sent everyone a draft of what I was sending for PV last Wednesday. So if you look at the email I sent last Wednesday, you should have everything I just described there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions, thoughts on the revisions? All right, hearing none, seeing none. Well, Michelle, I'll definitely reiterate what Nick said. This is why you were meant to join this commission. This was it. If nothing else made sense, this did.
This was it. Yes.
This is why. So again, very grateful for your willingness, grateful for, again, taking the initiative and the assertiveness to help craft this very critical part in a language that I think can be understood by multiple audiences. And that's the point. Hopefully people can see themselves in this story, can see that as big of an issue as this is, there are realistic ways to address it. And as the preface said, a lot of it doesn't cost anything, but yeah, there is a cost to this because we know there's been many forms of costs to this legacy. And so much gratitude to you, Nick, much gratitude to 3PV, much gratitude to everyone who provided feedback. And this is what it led to, this moment where, we're a week away from publishing what's going to chronicle the work of this commission. So I'm grateful, I'm excited, I'm tired, but we here. So much appreciation once again to you all. So if there are no other questions or thoughts on the final report, we can just quickly transition to advocacy. So just as an update, and I think I might have said this in the last meeting, but if not, a few commissioners will be meeting with Delegate Pillion Melnick. That will be next Tuesday for about a half hour, where we will give her a brief overview of the final report. Obviously, some of these major highlights that she can anticipate will be made to the public, soon enough, and to also think about what the strategy for advocacy can look like. So we also, we know that there's a lot going on that's affecting Maryland. That will be major discussions for the General Assembly session starting in early January. And we want to make sure that this work does not get lost within all of that. So the extent to which Delegate Pillion Melnick can help us navigate as smoothly as we can to get this in front of as many people as are willing to listen, and again, to hopefully have their support within Annapolis to bring as much of this to fruition would be greatly appreciated. Yes, Sophie, I see your hand.
I was just going to ask if there's any written material, such as a PowerPoint, could you share them with Kristen and I before the meeting?
So I know that Nick and Michelle did that for the MLMP conference. So I think we've all decided we're just going to use that as the foundation for our presentation. So Nick, Michelle, you want to pass that to Sophie and Kristen? That'd be greatly appreciated. If there's anything that needs to be, yeah, go ahead.
I didn't share that. I thought I shared that, Sophie. I didn't share the PowerPoint with you that we use.
Do you mind re-upping it? My inbox is pretty flooded. I might have missed it.
Okay. And I'll probably I'm going to make a couple of just minor tweaks since we're now at the end of this. So, but yeah, I'll send you an updated draft.
Cool. No, that sounds good. I will definitely use some of it in the meeting with Delegate Pillion Melnick, but hopefully make time, obviously, for her questions and really to pick her brain about how best to craft our advocacy in this moment that we'll be in, especially starting January of next year, but really starting now. I know we also talked about a press conference. We'll have to see, what's feasible. I know that Commissioner Snowden talked about it, kind of revolving around an anniversary of a lynching in December. I know that's coming upon the holiday season, so that's also something we have to be very mindful of. So honestly, I think that can be something else that we bring to Delegate Pillion Melnick as well. I'm sure she'll have some thoughts that would be very helpful as to when would be a good time, perhaps where would be a good space, and who might be able to join us along with fellow commissioners at that press conference. So those are the updates on the advocacy element of what we're doing for now. Much more to come in the next few weeks. And yes, Commissioner Coles, I see you.
So I think that in addition to like the press release, we probably need more of a media rollout, like having the press conference. Like, is there anyone drafting a press release? Are we going to try to get any copies of the report to particular reporters? Are we going to try to set up any potential TV interviews? Because I think like it's great and super important to do the advocacy with the legislators, but I think having that public wind behind our back is going to be really important to push this really expensive proposals through. And so I'm just wondering, like, who's leading that effort and how are we going to accomplish that?
Yeah, so I would say that certainly would benefit from a group effort. It immediately brings to mind a reporter that we worked with in the past that I can certainly give the heads up that, hey, we're pretty much done at this point. We got a report that we're going to roll out. We would love to get it in front of you, be able to talk about it. So I would say this would be an opportunity for us to kind of call back those media opportunities that we had over the past several years. I know a lot of it was towards the beginning because we were new, we were fresh. We had some, then and there. But I think thinking about who came to our hearings, thinking about, again, who reached out to us, for inquiries about the commission. Now is the time to go back to them and say, hey, now we really got something to talk with you about. Commissioner Creary, I see your hand.
Yeah, as I was listening to you, again, just sort of looking at, sort of trying to find a lynching, sort of anniversary around which to do that. And I'm thinking, I just sort of did a quick check and, George Washington Peck was lynched on January 10th, 1880. So perhaps shooting for January 10th of 2026, like right before the General Assembly comes back into session, that might be an appropriate target date. And also just thinking in terms of, press conference and rollout, I figure let's get in touch with Francis Tony Draper at the Afro. Let's contact Deneen Brown, who was a commissioner, at the beginning. She came back for the institutional hearing. I mean, there are people that we can reach out to. And here again, I think we should be finding, those local media outlets and the national media outlets as well. I mean, I think, let's hit WYPR, hit WAMU. I'm just thinking, the NPR junkie in me, hit those local, and again, hitting WAMU is going to, of necessity, sort of plug right into the national NPR system. So I would think that, there are ways that we can hopefully get that message out, with relatively little, input.
Right. No, that sounds good. Reverend Tiger, I'll come to you, and then Commissioner Miller and Commissioner Barnes, I'll follow up with you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I speak for Prince George's County Lynching Memorial Project, saying that I think we would want to advocate with our Prince George's delegation to the General Assembly for this. And I would imagine all of the LMPs, especially the ones that worked with you on public hearings, would want to do that as well. And do you have access to that software that mobilizes people to call? I think there's one called 5 Calls that could mobilize our individual members to call their legislators or email, and we could set up meetings. Seems like a great way to get our people on the ground behind this and informed, first of all, about it, and then help with the advocacy. I see Amy's hand is up, so she's probably going to address this. Sorry, Amy. Anyhow, yeah, that's it.
No, thank you for that, Reverend Tiger, and that's a great idea. Thank you for uplifting. Certainly, having local coalitions involved with with advocacy. You're right. As much of a multi-pronged approach that we can have, the better. So thank you for that. Commissioner Millen, I see your hand.
Yeah, Diana's correct that we must have been thinking along the same lines. And MLMP just set out a massive press release for the conference a couple of weeks ago, and we're all sharing the same reporters. So I think the more they hear from all of us on these topics, the better. And I certainly think coalition leads, contacting all the coalition leads that we have worked with, is really important, because a lot of folks are then forwarding it on to their local reporters as well. And that's how Delonte Herod, I believe, is the one out, actually, is it PG County area, has followed a number of the hearings. And then it just wrote another piece, connecting MLMP, support of the commission, and all of that. So really important to keep some of those sort of reporter friends in the loop, no matter how big or small they are.
Absolutely. No, thank you for that, Commissioner Millen. Commissioner Barnes, I see your hand.
Yes, I just was wondering, because I know the last meeting we were talking about doing things in the proper order so that, we didn't preempt legislators from hearing it or getting an opportunity to review first. So I was just wondering if there was some kind of order for all of this so that things don't get out in the wrong way or before we get in front, so that we can stay in front of it. And two, even though I know they're not Maryland, but EJI, you probably want to get something to our folks at EJI.
Yeah, so thank you for that reminder, Commissioner Barnes. So when we meet with Delegate Penny Melnick, I think that'll help us to solidify the order in which this gets out. As far as EJI, I would absolutely love for them to know about any of our progress. I know we've had various levels of difficulties with connecting with EJI. I mean, we've gotten emails and responses, but it seemed to be very superficial, and I would love to be able to return back to them and say, here's what this commission has done, and for them to certainly use their platform to uplift it, in a helpful way. So if any of us has a connection with EJI that can actually kind of get something going, as opposed to feeling like a cold call or a cold email, that would be most helpful. But I'm with you. Commissioner Barnes, you have your hand up again?
Oh, no, sorry, I didn't put it
Okay,
down.
no problem. Reverend Tykert, I see your hand. You are on mute, Reverend Tykert.
One of our
Thank
co-chairs, Crystal Carpenter, is associated with EJI through her employer. And so she has direct contact. I think they're preparing for an event with him this weekend. So when you're ready, as Barnes pointed out, things should be done in the right order. I'm in agreement with that. But yes, I think Crystal would, I shouldn't speak for her, but I think she would want to help out with her relationship with Brian Stevenson, who she knows, to help support this or
Thank you for that.
know about it.
No, absolutely, and we would greatly appreciate that. So yes, once we have this meeting with Delegate Pena Melnick and figure out the order, we will definitely reach out to you, Reverend Tykert, to help facilitate that. That would be incredible. We just want them to know that we've been doing the work, and that this supports what they have been doing for years, right? This is a result of that work in many ways, along with great timing, Commissioner Creary. Go ahead, see your hand.
Yeah, as I was again just listening and thinking, it's since I'm subscribed to Dr. Stacy Patton's Substack, I think if we get announcement about that and possibly draft it's like a copy of the report to her. She's got a pretty hefty following, so I think that would be another way. And I don't know how useful it would be, but certainly, send it to Armstrong Williams. If nothing else, at least we get the Baltimore Sun there, and I'd like to think that somebody amongst us has connections to the Baltimore Banner, Capital Gazette, but again, I mean, these are, I think, outlets that we should be pursuing regardless.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So I do have a connection with the Baltimore Banner. I'm gonna text them today just to kind of give them a heads up. So thank you for that reminder. Yeah. Again, this is the time to cash in your chips. If you have some good relationships, let's use it for this, please, to get this in front of as many people as possible. So I thank you all for considering those persons who could be helpful and again moving this forward once we officially roll it out. Any other thoughts? Any other questions? Again, going back to the final report, also talking about just our advocacy and that strategy for connecting with various people and various outlets. So Reverend Tiger bringing back her question about the software for mobilizing support. I'm personally not familiar with it. I know software exists. Does anyone know more about the software, have access to the software? Is that something that we could do within our capacity or have any thoughts about that? Okay, so Reverend Tiger, what I'll do is I will put that on the list just to explore it more and see what that may look like from our standpoint. So let me just put that down. Okay, Commissioner Hughes, I see your hand.
Yeah, I just have a question. I mean, I guess what I was hearing in the description was, in addition to getting the word out, which we as a commission have a responsibility to do, as far as the degree to which we're being advocates, like encouraging the public to call their elected officials and that kind of thing. I guess I just wonder, as a state commission, is that an okay role for us to play or not? Just being, for me, when I'm in my capacity as a state agency rep, I'm limited in that respect. So I maybe that's something that OAG could comment on, and maybe it's no problem in this case because it's a commission appointed, by the governor or outlined in the General Assembly bill. But just wanted to ask that question: what are the limits of what we can do around this outside of making sure the public is aware of it and so forth? But can we lobby for? Can we put out a call to action? I just don't know the answer.
No, great question, Commissioner Hughes. Kristen, Sophie, do you have any immediate thoughts?
Hi, not immediate. It's a really good question. I know that for those of you who are ex officio on the board, on the commission, appointed to the commission because of the position you hold with the state, I think there is not really an issue there, but I'm going to hold and do some investigation, and then I will follow up with legal advice.
No, thank you for that. Appreciate you. Any other questions? Any other thoughts, feedback? All right, hearing none, seeing none. Well, then we can move on to announcements. Any announcements that anyone would like to share? Members of the public, if you have any announcements, feel free to put them in the chat. Commissioners, you can state yours out loud and put it in the chat if you need to. Any announcements? Commissioner Millen, I see your hand.
Thank you. I want to, with my Maryland Lynching Memorial Project hat on, appreciate Commissioners Creary and Coles for presenting at the annual conference on October 25th. That was really good to have the voice of the commission there. And there's been a lot of good feedback and generated interest because of that. The presentation is recorded, and you can go to the Maryland Lynching Memorial Project's YouTube channel to watch it, and that would be also one way, Sophie, I think, to see and hear what was presented in terms of making sure we're all keeping to our points. I also want to thank Commissioner Fisher Hickman, for attending as well. So that was nice to have some representation. Another announcement is Maryland Lynching Memorial Project is collaborating with the Institute of Common Power and the Emmett Till, no, I've lost the full name of it, the Emmett Till Interpretive Center, to do a truth and purpose teach-in honoring Emmett Till and Mamie Till Mobley. That's going to be November 23rd. It's a 4-hour teach-in. It's online, but it's live online from 3 different locations in Mississippi. So when I'm done talking, I'll drop the flyer and the link in the chat. Totally free. So it's a great source of information.
Thank you for that, Commissioner Millen. Commissioner Dupree Wilson, I see you put something in the chat. Do you want to mention that briefly?
Oh, sure. Hello, everyone. My students completed a research project. We are creating a permanent monument to the Baltimore Black Sox Negro League team in Baltimore. It's a forever exhibit. And we are doing a student research showcase on Coppin's campus on November the 18th. So I put the link in the chat. If you want to register, it is free $99. There will be light refreshments. So please come by. It's in the evening, so it may work better with your schedule.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Dupree Wilson, for sharing that. Any other announcements? All right, hearing none, seeing none, then we are at the end of our meeting. We were very efficient with time, which I appreciate. I'm sure y'all do as well. So our next meeting is scheduled for Monday, December 8th. Same time, same place, 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. I'm sure by that point, the final report will have been printed. We will have had our meeting with Delegate Pena-Melnick, so we will definitely have much more clarity as to our strategy because the final report will have been printed. I think much of the meeting will be focusing on our advocacy and the strategy. So in the meantime, I encourage you all to, again, think about your connections in the media. Think about, again, those movers and shakers that can help to amplify this story so that as we transition into the new year, we can really kind of get things moving with, again, advocating for the recommendations from the final report. I definitely love the idea of doing something around January 10th, Commissioner Creary, so we can certainly explore that. Because January 10th is a Saturday, maybe we'll look at that Friday, January 9th. But that is feasible. It gives us about 2 months to figure out what a press conference may look like, who may be able to attend, and hopefully be able to conjure up some interest from the media. So that's really kind of our goals between now and December, certainly between now and the end of the year. So any thoughts, any ideas, please feel free to email me, email Vice Chair Chavis, just kind of let us know so that we can continue to keep things moving in the background. And with that, I will move for us to adjourn. And as always, much appreciation, much gratitude. Stay safe, find your joy, maintain your peace, and I'll see y'all next month. Take care.
Bye, everyone.